Not too long ago, within the last hour, President Biden signed the Disrespect for Marriage Act into law at a ceremony at the White House. Now, the legacy media was all too happy to provide the obligatory gushing coverage of and openly celebrating this terribly named bill. What the press and the president won't tell you about are the congressional rules and protocols that Democrats violated when rushing this bill to the final vote. Join me now to discuss this and the implications of it for religious freedom in this country, Congressman Michael Burgess. He serves on the House Energy and Commerce Committee, the House Rules Committee, and the House Budget Committee. He represents the 26th Congressional District of Texas. Congressman Burgess, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me on, Tony. I really appreciate it.
So, Congressman, you are on the Rules Committee, and there was an effort to address the religious liberty issue with this. We tried this in the Senate. Michael Lee had an amendment that got a vote, but they set the threshold so high that it wouldn't pass. But also, your fellow congressman from your colleague from Texas, Chip Roy, had an amendment, tried to get into the Rules Committee, and it was a mockery of a process. Tell us about it.
Call correctly, did not come through the normal process in the Judiciary Committee. It should have received a markup there. It was rushed to the floor. Rushed to the floor, Tony, because of a problem that doesn't exist. I mean, if the status quo in this country right now is that activity is not prohibited. So for some reason, at the end of a very tumultuous year, we had to rush through a bill to say, and nothing happens that is going to strike this down. Well, it wasn't at risk of being stricken down. So we got a lot of stuff we could be doing, but we spent 2 or 3 weeks on this valuable legislative time when I would just argue there are a lot of other significant problems that Congress could have taken up during that time.
Well, I would go even further, Congressman Burgess, and I think you would probably agree. Not only did they not solve problems, they have created more problems by passing this legislation when it comes to the free exercise of religion in this country.
It's only if you're religious enough, and I think it was, in fact, I read into the record in the Rules Committee the statements that came to me from Family Research Council about Section 6 of the bill that is to protect religious liberty. Well, actually, it just restates the constitutional protection that already exists, but only if you're a church. And if you're a church school or some other connected activity, you may not be protected at all. And not only that, there's now a right of private action that someone can bring a civil suit against you on behalf of your supposed opposition to same-sex marriage. So it really was it was not necessary, and then it took things much farther in a direction where really they didn't belong. And here's the bottom line: the country is no safer, no more prosperous. Citizens are not better protected. The government didn't spend the last 2.5, 3 weeks doing things that would help people. They simply went through an exercise where now we could have this self-congratulatory signing ceremony down at the White House.
But Congressman, the left did check a box. The Democrats checked a box to appease and placate their growing radical support base.
Yes, if that was the purpose, then mission accomplished. But again, I would just submit that there are so many other things we could have spent our time on. And this is, agree with it or not, it wasn't really an activity that was put at risk by anything that the Supreme Court or Congress had done. It was absolutely unnecessary, simply providing a gauzy photo op for the president and some of his supporters.
I don't disagree with that. I want to switch gears a little bit because you're kind of at the center of all kinds of activity, not only in the Rules Committee but Budget Committee. That's where all eyes are focused right now. Senator Schumer earlier today saying that they're going to get a short-term CR so that they can have time to cobble together an omnibus. That doesn't sound very promising, to have an omnibus that would tie the hands of the next Congress.
Look, and you know, I heard the Senator Schumer's comments. It's like we just need a little more time. Oh my gosh, you government was running out of money on September 30th. It happens every year. It's called the end of the fiscal year. Our appropriations are supposed to be done by September 30th. They weren't. We had an election coming up. So, in a show of legislative bravery, Congress said, hey, we'll give ourselves an IOU till December. And in the meantime, they didn't do any work on this. So now Majority Leader Schumer says, we just need a little more time to get this all together. You've had time. You've had nothing but time. Look, let's do a continuing resolution, get this to some point into next year. Republicans will at least be in charge on the House side. Let's see if we can't do a better job spending the people's money than what we've seen over the past 4 years.
Makes perfect sense to me, and I think to the majority of Americans who put the Republicans in control of the Congress in this last election. But what about your Republican colleagues? Are they willing to draw the line on this?
Well, look, that's the difficult thing is they can literally pass anything they want on the House side because Nancy Pelosi still has a 5-vote majority, and she will get all 222 of her members to vote for whatever they bring forward out of the Appropriations Committee. I don't think it can be stopped on the House side. Yes, it could be stopped on the Senate side because it does require, with the Senate filibuster rules, it does require 60 votes to get out of the Senate. Therein is the quandary. You have a number of people who are, for whatever reason, retiring or have big projects and buried deep within this omnibus, and they may say, hey, I want this to go forward. It shouldn't. It shouldn't. It's a disservice to the country. We're not providing the Pentagon with the money it needs. We're certainly not providing our border patrol with the money that they need, and yet we're supposed to accept it and go home and say we're going to have a great holiday. I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you, and we're going to encourage people to weigh in with their senators on this. Congressman Michael Burgess, always great to see you. If I don't see you before, have a Merry Christmas.